So funny because everyone's, so busy with their jobs and it's 2:00 on a Tuesday and all 14 people jumped in there and they were like, you go girl, that is not fair, take it to the union. Call the Prime Minister. He's got to hear about, we just escalated and escalated and escalated. That's not what she was looking for.
She wasn't
looking for the boss's point of view.
She wasn't.
She needed 14 women to go, they don't value you.
Welcome to Mamamia Out Loud. It's what women are actually talking about on Wednesday, the 5th of February. I'm Holly Wainwright.
I'm Mia Freedman.
And I'm Jessie Stevens.
And on the show today, why even Mia's telling me to calm down this week. Also, Jessie has an all-or-nothing story for us about how two of Australia's most successful online women are at war. And are you a feedback friend? But first, Jessie Stevens.
In case you missed it, Diet Coke and soft drink more broadly is back in a big way, and that's because, as I've said on this show before, it is a lovely, refreshing beverage. Soft drink demand in the US is higher than it's been in years, and the soft drink market in Australia is projected to grow over the next 4 years.
Do you reckon you're either a soft drink family or you're not? I was not allowed soft drink in our house, and I was always shocked whenever I'd see the biggest selling item in a supermarket is Coca-Cola.
I feel shamed because when I was a kid, we weren't a big soft drink family. It was definitely a novelty, a Friday night novelty. But when I was a teenager and I had a bit of pocket money, it was all about the corner shop. And going and just getting myself a cheeky little. I grew up with Britney Spears with Diet Coke on a boat. It was marketed to me very
Diet Coke
strongly.
on a boat. It's weird to me that it's on the increase though, because aren't we all so very kombucha green smoothie?
And also diet's not a word you hear much.
Well, firstly, as a result, I've been an ambassador for a while, disgracefully unpaid. And that's gone.
To be clear, this is not a sponsored segment.
No,
and Jessie isn't actually an ambassador.
No,
she just
I
calls
don't.
herself one to justify her Diet Coke
I would love
addiction.
this to be sponsored, but they won't pay me because I
even
keep
send you
giving them free
Coke.
publicity. So I've gone some way in popularising the fizzy drink, but it's not all me. President Donald Trump has brought back his Diet Coke button.
What's that?
In the Oval Office. So when you come back in, you get to make some, I'll change the
my
curtains,
God.
I'll
Yeah,
change
you do.
the
They give you a little
art.
book with all the options of different curtains and different desks.
Can you imagine how big your teacup would be if you were President of the United States?
It's true.
Well, he has a wooden box and it has a button. And when he clicks the button, someone brings him a Diet Coke on a silver platter. He loves it. Then celebrities like Dua Lipa, big into Diet Coke, has been going viral on TikTok, all the different things you can add to it.
What's the difference between Diet Coke and
Pepsi Max? Or
no,
Coke
Zero.
Zero. Coke Zero. Coke Zero is trying to be Coke. It's trying to be Coke without the sugar, whereas Diet Coke is its own thing. It knows it's not
Diet Coke doesn't. So I don't drink any of these drinks, but does Diet Coke taste different to Coke?
I think
and
it's
Coke
been-
Zero tastes like Coke.
Yes, exactly right. Diet Coke does not taste like Coke. I can't drink Coke Zero. It's disgusting. I would spit it out.
Can you drink Coke?
Don't really love it. I
Right.
love a frozen Coke at the movies, but Diet Coke and Pepsi Max are my two kind of go-tos.
Okay.
But look, a broken clock is right twice a day, as we say, and I am at this moment on trend.
Out Louders, what kind of friend are you? Are you a feedback friend or a cheerleader friend? Last week we brought you the syndrome of micro-pettiness, which became a viral phenomenon thanks to us. This week we're going to talk about the two types of friend, feedback friends or cheerleader friends. And this distinction has come from Holly Wainwright. She did an interview on her other podcast Mid this week with Amanda Keller and a woman called Anita McGregor, who is Amanda's best friend. She's also a forensic psychologist. Now, Amanda and Anita have been friends for many, many years. And in the conversation with them both, which is about friendship, Hol asks them about whether good friends are the people who call each other out or if a good friend is actually just a supportive rock no matter what. And here's how Amanda's friend Anita responds.
I think it depends on the friendship. Like you and I have had that conversation that, if I looked really terrible in an outfit, you wouldn't tell me that.
I would never tell you
You'd
that.
never tell, even though I'd want to hear it. Like I'm really big on feedback. And so I get that would make you feel uncomfortable, even though I'd like to hear it. And so, and I recognize that you are sensitive. And so.
Are all my outfits terrible? It's all I've heard in this entire conversation.
She's been meaning to talk to you about your shirt.
I've been meaning.
We actually have had this conversation. I wrote a book a number of years ago, and Anita wanted to read it, and I said, "Oh, here it is." Just thinking, I'm just passing it over. And she said, "How do you take feedback?" And I went, "Feedback? What do you mean feedback?"
I love that so much. It got us thinking about friendship and whether we're the feedback friend or the cheerleader friend, but also what we like from our friends. Because I think perhaps with some friends and in some instances, you're the feedback friend and in others, you're the cheerleader friend. Jessie, would you like some feedback from me about the kind of friend I think you are?
Yes, please.
I think you would love to be the feedback friend, but you're too intimidated, weak. Yes, you're too weak, and so you are the cheerleading friend, but you don't mean it.
Okay, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Yesterday, you said something in a conversation, and I thought, I don't think Mia realizes how her tone came across in that, and it crossed my mind. I go, do I tell Mia?
Yes.
As Mia, and this is true about your life, Mia. You walk around getting more feedback than anyone I know.
So much feedback.
I
Because
need it,
you're a
though.
business owner, because of your family, because
of social media.
because of your personality. I couldn't handle the amount of feedback that you
But
get.
I do and I don't. Like, I do get a lot of feedback, but there are also a lot of people who are too scared to give me feedback because, I don't know, they work for me.
But also, like, who am I? Maybe you made that choice to use that tone, and I just thought, ooh, should I say something?
I love that.
Really?
Yes. Are you kidding me?
Okay, I think
Have
you're a
you
bitch.
have you ever known me to not want feedback? Holly hates feedback.
I do.
But I love it. I don't know why. I find the people who give me the friends who give me feedback are the ones who I feel safest with because I trust them.
See, my thing is always, I can be the feedback friend if I feel like I have any expertise in what the person's talking about. So if someone's talking about an issue at work and I don't know anything about their industry, I will listen and cheerlead. If I have a friend, I've had this a few times, who is thinking about writing a book, then I go, I wonder if they want me to give them some advice, not because I'm an expert, but because I've done it before. And I've kind of waited to see what they think. And I've had the same thing where a friend has like sent a book or whatever and you've gone, do I say something about like what I picked up on page 17 or whatever?
I thought that was so interesting that Amanda was saying very clearly, wasn't she, to Anita, it didn't occur to me that you'd give me feedback.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to say, this is great.
I think it's really, because you're right, Mia, I don't like feedback. I mean, I like it in some circumstances. But when Amanda described, she said in this interview, she said, I'm really sensitive. She said, and I don't think of myself as a sensitive person, right? I think of myself as like stoic, practical, blah,
Manchester.
blah. But I am very sensitive to feedback, and it's important to me.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because you're insecure?
I'm not necessarily sensitive to feedback in a professional sense. Like, I've had my whole career of being edited, and I am very, very glad of that. And it only makes people better.
Because that's a form of feedback, isn't it?
100%. And I wonder if that's a little bit why I don't really like feedback in other areas of my life, is I feel like I get enough of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We get a lot of feedback on this show because we're public people and we're in the world, and people will say, I don't like the way you said that. I don't like, you should have said this. And I read it and I take it on. And so I feel like I get a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't want feedback from my friends. Like, if I specifically ask for it, like, what should I do in this situation? Or, Mia, what bag should I buy? Or, what do you think I should do about this? Then yes, and I have a wise counsel that I will ask those things to. You two are obviously in that counsel.
You're right, because
that I do not like drive-by
unsolicited feedback. I agree. I think that feedback, if it's unsolicited, becomes advice. And advice that's not asked for can feel like pressure. And I think that that's the worst thing you can do in a friendship, or it can really damage a friendship, is to give unsolicited advice. Or feedback to me is different, because advice is like, here's what I think you should do. Feedback to me is, you might, like what you just said, Jessie, I clearly wasn't aware, because I don't think I was trying to be a bitch. I'm never trying to be a bitch. But feedback is, hey, you might not realise how that came across when you said that thing.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, thank you for telling me that.
So we've got here's a sort of tangible example. We have a group chat and there's like 14 of us in it. And a friend recently put in an issue that she was having at work, right? And it was a very, very specific issue, and everyone jumped in. It's so funny because everyone's, so busy with their jobs, and it's 2:00 on a Tuesday, and all 14 people jumped in there, and they were like, "You go, girl! That is not fair. Take it to the union. Call the Prime Minister. He's got to hear about." Like, we just escalated and escalated and escalated. Like, if that had been a situation where that person, a lot of yassing, a lot of hearts, a lot of I'm pretty sure there was a strong arm, lots of emojis. Mm-hmm. If that person, maybe there had been, and not in this situation, but, maybe there was someone who kind of went, well, I can see the boss's point of, that's not what she was looking for.
She wasn't
looking for the boss's point of view.
She wasn't.
She needed 14 women to go, they don't value you.
Yes.
And that's what we do. And that's when you walk into a restaurant or drinks or cocktails, you'll often hear there's a gaggle of women, and you'll often hear a shriek. And that shriek is the cheerleading friends, because they're there's just an energy that women get. Yeah. And we've talked about this before, that women cop shit a lot. You cop shit just because you're a woman in the world. There are very few spaces where people just cheer you on for being you. And I think that's the beauty of having a close-knit female group.
We're in a group, Holly and I, with a friend who's going through breast cancer treatment at the moment, and there's so many random people from her life in that group, everyone from, I think, her mother to just all different people from her life. And it's very funny because the pure point, there's 2 points of that. One is for her to be able to convey information to us as a group instead of having 8 million conversations. But then its pure purpose for us is to be able to be cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And it might be you go, girl. This week it was funny. Everyone just posted somehow a funny picture of where they were just to amuse her or each other because she'd started radiation. And that is a classic case. But then it's really funny. I was in a work group chat as well where someone asked for feedback in a channel of 31 people.
Oh, no.
I think Mia's really good at this. And one of the things I ask Mia for feedback on sometimes is how to give another. So if you know a friend is making terrible decision after terrible decision, whether it's about relationship or something in their lifestyle or their job or whatever, and you can see the pattern because you've been around them a long time. Yeah. As a cheerleader friend, right, I see my job as being always, you're the place where they fall. And that's okay. That's your role. And you always go, it's okay, babe. It'll be fine. We'll work it out. A feedback friend is the one who's going to do the call out, right? And is it possible to be both those people at once? Do you know what I mean?
It is, because you just got to read not what you think needs to happen, but what your friend needs from you in that moment, which is what Jessie did with the person who just needed advice. I know that when I'm often in an elevated state of outrage or indignation or feeling very hurt about something, what I need, I'll go to the person, or I'll keep going until I find the person who will match my same level of indignation, outrage, devastation, disappointment, whatever, not someone who will try to give me a different point of view. That could be what I would need if I'm genuinely puzzled about something. I might say, like Hol did, how should I handle this? Or did I come across really badly in that conversation? Yeah. But my worst trait is that I give too much unsolicited advice. I can't. Sometimes you just need to be let them.
She's the queen.
Let them. I'm the queen of unsolicited. You're both laughing. I'm the queen of unsolicited advice and unsolicited feedback, particularly about what you both are wearing. But
the takeaway here too is that if you have a friend who is never in any context your cheerleader, then that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
You can be both, absolutely. Yeah. You can be a full cheerleader. You can't be a full feedback.
Because I'm also, in my defense, I'm a big cheerleader.
You're a massive cheerleader. That's why you get away with it.
Okay, good.
Friends, this segment is an all or nothing. You either know everything about Anna Paul's very bad week, you're deep on Mikaela Testa's TikTok, and you have some feelings about Attis. I think that's how you say it.
Did any of those words make sense to you, Mia Freedman?
I vaguely know who Anna Paul is.
Yeah.
I think she's an influencer. Does she have an OnlyFans account?
She's one of the biggest OnlyFans creators in the country.
I tried to get her to come on No Filter, but she wouldn't. She's impossible to reach. She
I
didn't
bet.
even say no. She just didn't reply. But
She's
like I tried for a
very-
year.
Very famous. If you are deep in this rabbit hole, you also suddenly know the ins and outs of Australian lottery laws. Okay.
Oh. Can I just ask one question about the fame? We have discussed before how one of the things about our fragmented world is you say she's very, very famous. Like, could she walk down the street in the middle of Sydney?
She would be swarmed.
Right.
Your daughter, Holly, would probably, if you cornered her, she would go, yeah, I know all about
Who's she
Anna Paul.
famous with? Who's her
Young people.
demographic?
I would say young people.
And what's she famous for?
So she's like on TikTok at this moment, I'd say she has about 6.5 million followers. On Instagram, probably similar. And she is one of the biggest OnlyFans creators.
What does she post about? Because OnlyFans I understand to be mostly
Sexually explicit content.
Yeah.
But she's also very like wholesome. Like she posts really normal stuff. I think one of her most viral videos is her doing like a dance.
So
right?
she's got different brands.
She's got different brands. She has a
adult
skincare
brand
brand as
family
well
brand, maybe.
for like for younger women.
So when you say younger, do you mean like women in their 20s or like
I would say like
16-year-olds?
I would say like early 20s, like young women, right?
Okay, thank you.
And they like her because she's pretty. Is she financially successful?
So her brand is kind and relatable.
Uh-oh.
Does she
yes.
sell anything?
When
Yes.
that's your brand, you're always
so-
in trouble.
So obviously the OnlyFans is her big thing. If you think of it like a funnel,
Yeah.
then the big bit is like she gets the TikTok, she gets the Instagram audience, and then ideally people are going to pay for her OnlyFans. And in the last week, she's lost 1 million followers on TikTok.
Ooh.
So that's a big deal. You two are like most in Australia. If you don't know who Anna, Mikaela, or an Attis is, you don't know what platform they live in, and you certainly don't have time to watch a 9-minute video full of allegations, a bunch of which we cannot today legally air.
I tried to read it when we were researching this. I tried to read a story about it that was on Mamamia. Whole, I think you did too.
I did also.
I'm not much the wiser.
It's really hard because it's like you need to understand the characters and the background, but I'm going to do my very, very best.
Thank you so much.
Explain.
Okay, because like everything, it's really a philosophical discussion about ideas. We're just using these people as pawns. Let's start with Anna Paul. Okay, so we talked about the fact that her brand is kindness, relatable, big star. Then over on the other side, we have Mikaela. Mikaela and Anna Paul been very good friends since they were 15. For a few years, Mikaela dates Attis. Who is Attis? Great question. Anna Paul's brother.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Now, they break up, but Mikaela
Yeah.
is also very big on OnlyFans,
Is
very
she?
big following.
Similar kind of vibes.
Very similar vibes.
Okay.
Yeah. A little over a week ago, Mikaela posts a story on Instagram. Mia, I want you to read what that story says. I'm going to give it to you here. It's a bit in bold. Please read it. This is the story that she posts.
Okay, it says, if you have to incentivize people to buy your exclusive website by running cash giveaways so your underage followers spend $10 to hopefully win $1,000, you're basically running an illegal lottery and taking advantage of children. It's gross.
So, for a portion of the internet, that was explosive. I saw that and I was
Shots
like,
fired.
I'm lacking context
Yes.
as to who's doing what.
Why? How are we exploiting children with a lottery?
Okay, here's how the children are being exploited with the lottery. Everyone immediately knew this was a dig at Anna Paul. It was a dig at Anna Paul because a few hours before she had posted
Oh, so that's called a subtweet.
A subtweet.
When you don't mention someone, but everyone knows
But
who you're
everyone
talking
knows.
about.
because she had posted a link to her OnlyFans. And what she does is she says, come to my OnlyFans. I'm giving away money. So subscribe and then
Pay to subscribe.
pay to subscribe, which I think is like $16 or something. Come subscribe to my OnlyFans. And then for some lucky fans, I'm going to give you 500, 1,000. I'm just going to give you money, right?
Are you allowed to do that? I don't think you are.
Well, I've gone deep on lottery laws and yeah, you can.
Oh.
As long as it's less than $3,000, you are allowed to do it. It's like people do this all the time, like a version of it. It's not like, and it's pretty transparent. But anyway, a few days later, Mikaela uploads a 9-minute video.
It's way easier to hate me for calling her out when she's wrong than accepting that the Anna you guys love and idolize so much never existed. You don't know her. You don't know her like I know her. You have never met her, and if you have, it's nothing more than a 5-second selfie. These people that watch her don't know the Anna that I know. They know the other Anna, the one she wears when the camera starts rolling. I can't blame the parasocials because I too would do the same for someone that I looked up to. But my experience with Anna was a lot different to all of you. Mine was a real experience.
So this is Anna's ex-sister-in-law, essentially.
Correct. Yeah. So do you want the headlines from the 9-minute video?
Yeah, what did she do?
Okay, so
What's the Anna that she knows?
well, firstly, Anna Paul claims to be very body positive, but apparently years ago she was at an event and a fan came up and gave her a hug, and this fan was plus size. And when she walked away, Anna Paul complained to Mikaela, she was so fat and sweaty.
Oh,
Number one.
that's not good.
It's not good. It's also completely unverifiable.
Exactly. Who knows? Maybe she said it, maybe she didn't.
Yeah. Number two, and this is a big one. Anna Paul claims that she grew up broke. It is part of her story. It is part of like the narrative that she sort of sells on Instagram and TikTok, that she grew up with not a lot as a kid. And now the reason she wants to make all this money on OnlyFans, because now she'd be rolling in it, is that she wants to take her parents on holiday. She wants to buy them houses, all of that. And Mikaela says you did not grow up broke. You had a house on the water with a pool and you were upper middle class, right? And the third thing is this lottery claim thing. She just says your Instagram, where a lot of your content is aimed at young people.
Because you can't post sexually explicit. You can't even have a nipple out on Instagram or on TikTok.
So we all know that OnlyFans creators are using Instagram and TikTok as advertising for their OnlyFans. What Mikaela's claiming that Anna Paul is doing is trying to attract a bunch of young people and then getting underage people to go to OnlyFans. OnlyFans does have very strict guidelines about who can sign up.
I have another dumb question about this. Isn't it probably two different follower groups? Like, aren't probably most of Anna Paul's OnlyFans followers male and probably most of the TikTok followers are female? So isn't it that you don't necessarily need to cross-pollinate? You're just capturing all the market?
Yes, except Mikaela's claim is if you're saying to people in a cost of living crisis, I'm going to give away money, then suddenly you've got someone subscribing to your sexually explicit content
for $16.
Who's a single mother who really just needs $1,000.
Got it.
But so that's on her. That's not my that's on the person who decides to spend $16. Exactly, essentially buy a lottery ticket. And that's not illegal. Is it ethical if she's channeling essentially the people who follow her on these quote marks safe platforms or G-rated platforms and sending them
to her OnlyFans? What do you think?
Bit icky.
I think there's worse to see on the internet. If you've got access to a credit card and you can pay $16 to maybe see her boobs. I don't think that's the most
there are very strict guidelines.
Shocking thing in the world. Because remember, you're meant to be over a certain age to be on TikTok or, whatever, and they can pay $16. What, they might see pictures of her boobs. How explicit is the content?
I actually think
and you can see a lot worse on the internet for free.
I actually think those other two claims are probably more brand damaging because they press two very specific buttons. The body positivity one, as Jessie's pointed out, is impossible to verify, but very effective, because what that claim does is it puts a seed into the minds of everyone who loves Anna Paul and who maybe has met her at an event and who has felt that Anna Paul sees them as beautiful no matter what size they are. Maybe she was mocking me all along. It's a very effective brand damaging claim because it's no way of proving it wrong, and it goes to the heart of her appeal. And the other one pushes a button that we love to push in Australia, which is about class, which is, classless society, blah, blah. No, it's like who's rich, who's poor, who should feel that way, what makes you rich. It's a conversation that Australians love. So I actually think that those two claims are probably more powerful.
I read Anna Paul's response to this and I thought it was very measured. She didn't talk about the lottery thing. Like, she completely didn't talk about that. But she did talk about the details that she might have said something about a fan being sweaty or fat. She said she would never call anyone fat, but she might have said that someone was sweaty. And she said when you're in a line hugging like 100 people, you might, sometimes I have to get a wipe and wipe my shoulder because people are sweaty. Sometimes people would probably walk away and say, Anna Paul was sweaty because sometimes I get sweaty. So she explained that. Can you say what she said, Jessie? Because I thought this was interesting too.
Yeah. So the broke response, because she uploaded that like a 7-8 minute video, and the broke thing was really interesting. She said, when I said I grew up broke, that is my experience. That is how I felt. When I can hear my parents talking in the kitchen that the budget for the groceries that week is $30, it makes me feel broke. When we can't afford school uniforms, it makes me feel broke. When I am 11 and my friends can afford something and my parents can't, that makes me feel broke.
What I think is so interesting about that is makes me feel broke. And this idea about poverty or being broke is a feeling. It's not necessarily objective. I mean, it's both. It is, there's a poverty line, clearly. But the idea of it being a feeling.
That has been widely mocked. The idea, like TikTok is now going, I feel broke, and making a big joke of that. What I think, she ended that by basically saying, I never said I was the most broke. And there are always going to be people who are less well off.
Yeah, I thought that was reasonable too.
And we can't, what do we want? Do we want to see our parents' pay slips?
No, but come on. I agree with all that, and empathy and kindness, etc. But if you're going to make it a big part of your story, that you grew up working class and you didn't have things and you've always wanted to be, but you did actually grow up in a house by the water with a pool, I'm sorry.
I don't think she has.
She shouldn't have done that.
We're never going to know for sure.
Didn't. I mean,
it's just two people going against each other.
I've literally only heard about this woman today, so I can't say that I knew that for sure.
If you can feel your brain cells popping as they just evaporate, I think what's interesting about this is that the influencer taking on influencer playbook is an old and very well used one in order to, because why has she come out and done this? Why? Because she's trying to protect the kids from being exploited.
Well, that's what she said. I saw
come
this.
on.
At the end of her video, Mikaela says, I am posting this because I care about children and young adults being conned by her. And I thought, that is not why. The reason this is so big is because, as we know with TikTok, you will go viral faster than anywhere else. We're talking 22, 23 million views, millions of likes. The death threats that both of these women would be copping right now.
Wow.
If the end goal is to get more subscribers to their OnlyFans, maybe that would work. But the conclusion I've made is that Mikaela and Attis, this guy who sounds awful, her allegations are really serious against him. There's clearly been a big falling out.
But that's not his sister. If he's a creep, that's not his sister.
But if I'm Mikaela and I do an explosive video about Attis, who firstly, never heard of him, secondly, he's a man, you're not going to get nearly as much traction. The interest here is two women, two OnlyFans stars.
Dirty tricks.
And guess what the internet has? Images of them both in a bikini, and they're going to post them everywhere, and they're going to go back and forth, and the drama and the heat and the energy. It's like when I was talking recently about that wrestling documentary. This is just wrestling. And so it's all of this heat and momentum. It might look like fun for a minute, but I watched Anna Paul's video and she was saying, this is going to kill someone. This stuff where you pick up, where you go, Anna Paul is trending on the algorithm. I'm going to pick my phone up and do a take on Anna Paul.
Oh, that's
all of that is sick.
Virality of cancellation.
Yeah. And I just look at it and go, guys, this is not fun. This is sinister.
Massive thank you to all of the Out Louders for being here with us today, and of course to our team for putting it together.
Bye.